clean and a bitter metallic taste, although who would taste it? And like, if you've seen it, you wouldn't probably want to taste it, but anyway. So you see that we're out of range for what would be nice to look at, nice to drink. And so every single one of those samples from those homes was out of range, except one tap. But again, it still was a little bit brown. Every one that we got, they said, yeah, my water, and mine was so, I know that when I first saw mine, Colby Kirk was like, is your water brown? I'm like, no. I couldn't do it in the light. I had to put it in a very white bowl to be able to see it. So I know sometimes it's kind of a light color. Mm-hmm. But, and anyway, and then we looked at, all these other things, and so we just tried to figure out what it was. And I think you've probably worked with Dr. Ormsby. Has he been here since you've been here with this? Yeah. And so anyway, he was trying to explain, he tried to explain Langolier to me too, but I'm still behind on that one. But his thoughts and hypothesis, I guess, when that cold water from the river started coming into that reservoir, which is already low, cold water sinks to the bottom, warm water comes to the top, you're basically turning over your system. And that would bring up some of that material. And then when you're adding chlorine to manganese, it can really make a problem. And so, of course, we're chlorinated. I'm not sure how much that had to do with it, but anyway. And he did say, put on Facebook, tell them not to use bleach. Because it will ruin their clothes. That's and right. So, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, well, a couple things. The water temperature in June, before we even started pumping river water, increased 20 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
So we didn't start pumping water until July 3rd.
Yep. Yeah.
So in June, it went from 60 degrees Fahrenheit to 80 in the month of June.
Yeah. And we also, we were looking at the temperature of the river, and the river was cooler, but because it's just moving,
So one of the things the PACE data showed me that I didn't talk about was the PACE data clearly showed that the water leaving the plant met all the standards.
That's what is very confusing.
But it's not confusing to me, because when we tested the water in the distribution system, manganese was at 0.4? 0.3? So it went from 0.03 to 0.3. So leaving the plant's 0.03, coming out of the pipe is 0.3. So you ask yourself the fundamental question, how does that happen? Well, manganese, what it'll do is manganese is looking for a dancing partner. And the dancing partner in this case is sulfates. Manganese, when combined with a sulfate, will form like a dark scale on the inside of the pipe. It's called manganese sulfate. And so when you take warm water, and then you take water that's got a Langolier scale of negative 1.5 to negative 2, and you put warm water at that negative scale in that pipe, it'll bring that out of solution. It'll bring it from a scale and put it into solution. So it dissolves it in essence. Hence why you've got a higher manganese level in the water than you had leaving the plant. And so your distribution system becomes your source for these things. But also, if you go back and you look at your iron readings, and this pretty much is showing me, your iron readings coming out of the distribution system is higher than what it is leaving the plant. And that was also evident, which, again, once I get PACE's analytics back for these other parameters I've asked for, that'll tell me whether, well, I already know, we need to address the Langolier issue. That's the root cause of this problem. If you address the Langolier issue, the temperature doesn't have as significant of an influence. But you gotta address that. Now to address that, you're talking about a design change, you're talking about adding a chemical, you're talking about a number of things that takes time. And we're gonna take the time to do that because we have to go after the root cause. But in the interim, our only avenue is run a slightly higher pH out of the plant and continue to flush the system. That's the only course that we can do right now to address the problem. And I've been paying attention to Facebook as well, and I haven't seen as many complaints Now, as I see.
Like I said, Maxim was begging people, please, let me tell you, see your groundwater, and some people, it just wasn't, but
And it was
now,
interest-
today even,
Yeah,
that some people
there's
think-
still some people in zone 1, that is still, facing, discoloration. And there has been a trend line that I've been personally documenting from social media and interactions I've been having through my social media channels of like people like identifying, I have brown water, this is where I live. And I'm like identifying in scatter plot form, this is for me to help understand where is levels of impacts of this yellow brown
Well,
water.
what you do is take that scatter plot and overlay the composition of the material of the distribution pipe.
Yes,
And what you'll find out is more people who have HDPE, PVC, anything that's not black iron
yes.
will have a lesser problem. People who have more black iron in the distribution system will have a bigger problem.
That's something that I'm very interested to learn more and understand when it comes to different sections of the zones of the system and what type of lines that interweave to those areas. If that is something that I can learn more about.
You can give that information off of GIS, right?
Yeah. I don't know, do you have access to it?
I do have access to the GIS. I think it's just kind of tinkering with the back end to understand like which line is what, so I can be able to understand the different differentiations of the different lines.
So if you.
Yeah.
And where the flushing is occurring, because
Yes.
there are people who, after you flush,
A certain zone, a certain part of the area,
above that,
it pushed down to the end of the holler.
Well, I mean, I don't sit here and deny that we've all.
Oh, I know. I'm
we've
just-
all seen it, but I can
Yeah.
tell you that 90% of the places we go and flush, we don't see it.
Yeah,
It's weird, yeah.
We didn't tell, and then when we go back, there is some of the same ones that have called us back, that's when we will notice it, but when we're there originally, we don't see it.
mhm.
And we'll flush some of them for 20, 30 minutes and
Yeah.
not see nothing,
And the video it.
and we've got.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
And I mean, I guess the goal of this, conversation and sharing this information is to help support getting to the root of the problem
I'm too
and
worried.
another perspective. And especially from my angle with how I work in Martin County with Martin County Concerned Citizens in
You need to
Lincoln.
Make sure that you're encouraging them to call it off.
Oh, 100%. I have your all's number on speed dial on my phone and I shoot it out.
Complaints since this has started.
Yeah.
Well, I will just let you know, I can share you screenshots of how many people that I have told to call this number.
What's important is please call the number so that we can flush the lines. If we don't know, we can't react. But the bigger thing is I want the public to know that this board is not going to just let this lay. We're gonna solve the problem.
If they have galvanized pipe at home, what would that do?
Well, galvanized is,
Extra country or
the problem with galvanized is galvanized pipe is really not recommended for water pipes.
I understand
But if
that.
you have galvanized pipe, what happens is the galvanized will wear off on the interior of the pipe, and it will act like a carbon steel pipe, and it will form a ferrous oxide layer on the inside.
Yeah.
And it will experience the same problems that black iron pipe has over time.
Right, so it would, if you have galvanized pipe at home, could be producing its own.
Its own ferrous oxide in the water, yes. It could. And which leads me to another thing is that there was a question about, the EPA line survey. We finished that survey and submitted that information to the state, late last year, December of 2024, we submitted our report. And of the 3,450 customers, there was approximately 800 that was unidentifiable. And now we're waiting for the state to come back and tell us next steps, as I understand it.
Correct.
And we have the funds already approved that depending on what the state tells us to do, we already have the monies to do that.
Correct.
So it's, right now the ball's in the state's court.
Oh,
They
yeah.
tell us what to do.
Oh, yeah.
And those are people who they haven't reported because they maybe don't know what they
They don't
have,
know.
is that what it is?
Yeah, they
The
don't.
majority of them is people that there's no records of, and it's all on the customer side. We've identified everything that was on our side.
Up to the meter, it's after the meter that's unknown.
Yeah.
In some cases.
And I just wanna say, we didn't do this to try to, we're gonna one up anybody.
No.
We wanted to see, we wanted those people who were reaching out to
Yes.
feel like Martin County Concerned Citizens was helping, and
Yes.
we knew, we're still working on this mountain drinking water project. So we still have access. It has nothing to do with the Mountain Drinking Water Project.
No, this
But
sample,
they just
yeah.
said, sure, we'll help you out, you know.
And again, this is all just to support the board, support Alliance, and just support how we can be more proactive in other entities in the future
The
too.
way I view it is we're one community,
Exactly.
you know, just like we're one nation under God.
And again, with the unique relationship that me and Nina had with the University of Kentucky and their partnership with us, and so they're a resource if needed.
We appreciate that.
Yeah.
We appreciate you all's efforts in pulling that together,
And I will plan to give the Mountain Citizens a copy also. Do you have an extra? And also whatever copies you have left.
Well, let me take
Save
it.
one for Colton.
Now, if I
And
can,
one for me.
And one for you.
if I can ask a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so when I listened very intently to your explanation, that I couldn't repeat it and wouldn't even dare try. But I'm thinking, if I'm sitting at home and I'm hearing this, what questions do I have?
Yeah.
Because we're talking about time, money, and a lot of effort to get this fixed, right?
Yes.
So if I'm sitting at home, I wanna know, how long is it gonna take us to get the items that we need to fix this problem? If your hypothesis is correct,
Yeah.
how long will it take us to get the parts, the chemicals, all that stuff that we need, to get it here?
Okay, well, one of the items that's gonna be on new business, I'm gonna ask the board to approve your chairman to start working with an engineering firm in AWR to formulate a solution. And that request is gonna be based on my hypothesis that the LSI value is inappropriate for our distribution system and the root cause of our problems. And the reality is this, we've been told, correct me if I'm wrong, but KDOW, who came to our plant and inspected our plant when all this was happening, they have confirmed that other counties around us who also have LSI values like ours is experiencing the same problem.
I wondered if other communities.
Yeah, there's several. I talked to him again today, our local inspector of Division of Water, and he said he named 4 systems outside of us that are dealing with the same issue right now.
I have more questions.
But go ahead, so I'm gonna ask the board tonight, please remind me if I forget, because my memory's not as good as it used to be. I'm gonna ask the board for a motion to approve that, and I'll get started on that design, working with a firm. Because my goal is to come back soon to this board with an engineer's estimate and an approach. Now, please keep in mind, it's gonna require a permit modification. You just can't go into a plant and change operations without that. That's where the time comes in, working with the state. But to answer your question, you're probably looking best case, anywhere from 3 to 8 months
You're talking about in total or just answer
Total.
my question?
in total.
Okay, what state agency do we have to get the permit for? KDOW or who?
Well, I think we're gonna have to go through, Kentucky Division of Water, but also, I think PSC may have to be involved too, because we're under that.
Not for any regulations issues, you won't have to.
You don't think so, even though we're under the order? Okay.
So you think the only permit we need would be from Division Water?
And then, Division of Water, but it might be 2 more permits, it'll be an operating permit mod, but I also think they may require us to get an install permit for the chemical.
They will. If you're changing your treatment process, they're gonna require engineering plans and change, to require all that to be done.
Okay, so what can we be doing anything? I know we wanna raise the pH and all that to try to combat what we can, but I mean, can we be doing any of this work while we're working on the permit process? Or do we have to wait till we get the permit and proceed with anything?
You have to have a permit before you can do an install.
Okay, but
You could do the design, you could buy what you need. I don't think what we're gonna need has a long lead time. But you can buy what you need, but you can't do an install and you can't do the operation until you get a permit.
Have we talked with what are these other communities doing? These other systems?
Maybe I don't like the answer, because it's something it's a reoccurring problem that happens in every system, that happens about twice a year. They usually flush the lines out, and
It's the same.
it reoccurs the following year. They're not making any operational changes. What Tim has suggested that we do is we not allow this to become a reoccurring issue that we can, because we had the same issue last year, around the same time.
Somehow I missed it.
it just wasn't as bad.
Yeah.
I mean, we got the work orders and everything, same thing happened last year, same time of year.
Yeah, and I'm a firm believer that, and maybe it's my OCD, but I'm a firm believer when there's a problem, there's a solution, and we're gonna implement the solution. That's just the way my brain works, and groundwater coming out of a faucet is a problem. And there's a solution, and we're gonna implement it. Okay. So with that, any other, I know we took a lot of time on that, but that's a very important subject to address, in our meeting. So let's move on to some good news, the water loss report.
It's, 7C, water loss, that is at 45.68%.
45.68%, which is the lowest number
That I've ever heard.
that I've seen. And in fact,
That you've ever heard.
it's
Yeah,
probably
Mark
close.
County.
It's probably, I think it's close to, now Martin County's not the worst county in the state. We're that close to not being the worst. And that's something, I know that sounds somewhat ironic in a way, but to go from, when I got on the board, what was it 71%?
Everyone.
And now we're at 45.68? That's incredible. That's an achievement.
Tim, I haven't seen that number for 30 years.
Now, let me let you know a little inside secret. The secret is I expect this number to go down even more, but we get the LSI number down around 0 to -0.3. High LSI values cause leaks. So that's part of the problem. So that's why it's important to address that as well. So, but I want to thank AWR for continuing to aggressively look at our leak rate and going out and addressing those leaks. I know we've overspent our budget on leaks. We've done it last year. We're doing it this year. But we've got to get our leaks under control. Okay, all right.
And then, your leak adjustments, 71 through 77.
Yeah, board members, I'm assuming you've had an opportunity to look at the leak adjustments. I need a motion to approve those adjustments.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Todd, you wanna give us an update on the capital projects report?
Yeah, I'll touch on the ones that we got moving on, so if you look at, starting on 8.1A is the updated, CIP that Tim and I put together a while back. So if you start going down the list, of course, the main one is the raw water intake project. So within since the last month, we have received the electric 600 horsepower pump back from Xylem. We have it sitting on the cart, ready to go. We have ran new wiring under the cable which met the code which wiped out the code violations, put in a conduit. We've installed the new 400 horsepower VFD, removed the 300 horsepower. We have got the 700 horsepower VFD and all, cleared all the codes and is ready to operation. So currently we are waiting for Shoemaker, for Bell to get Shoemaker on site to finish the work. So the remaining work needs to be, they need to drill holes in the cart so the pump can mount on it. They need to install the control panel, which we have on site, to the side of that pump. And they need to replace a few PLCs in the microcom box to make the automation and the safety. I received an email today from David Bell saying that Shoemaker was supposed to apply him an email today, but giving him a timeline of the schedule for that work to be completed. I expect that it's about a day and a half to 2 days of work. We'll see it back on site. So in the meantime, like you said earlier, we are filling the reservoirs with diesel pump, and with the expectations of as soon as we can get that one done, to try out the electric, get it out of here.
So we are making progress on the raw water intake, and I'm hopeful that we can soon get that system up and running and get rid of the diesel pump. And But also keep in mind, part of the raw water intake commissioning also requires commissioning of the telemetry interface, which allows control of the 600 horsepower pump, remotely, so that we can monitor performance and we don't run that pump dry. If you run that pump dry, you will damage it. And so, it's important that we properly commission the raw water intake so that we don't have any future problems.
Is that in the money that, is there, I mean, we have the ability to do all that?
It's in the $346,000 that Big Sandy has went back and asked Army Corps of Engineers and AML to fund, yes. And that money has been approved. What hasn't been approved, or what hasn't been done, is there's approximately $410,000 of remaining funds under the RWI project that Big Sandy has not gone back and getting matching funds for through CED. And we need those matching funds so we can do approximately $410,000 worth of the improvements to the water treatment plant, which in that funding was $65,000 for the multimedia filters, 3, 4, 5, and 6 replacement, which we're going ahead and doing anyway. We're not waiting on Big Sandy Ave. We're going to move forward and get that media changed, and we can talk about that more, but we're getting that done. So,
Question.
yeah.
So this stuff that we need to do to fix our groundwater problem,
Yes,
it's a planned improvement, is it not?
it is plan improvement.
Could it come from some of those funds?
Possible, we'd have to go back to the $410,000 and take something out to put that in. It's possible. I have to look at the design first, the engineer's estimate second, figure out the cost of that. But I don't think that the calcium carbonate addition, assuming it could get permitted and approved, I don't think the capital cost is gonna be that much. I mean, my gut's telling me we're probably looking at $75,000 to $100,000 maybe.
But
It's
we're
just-
not flush with cash.
No,
I was gonna say, that's not a lot of money to me.
Yeah, well, in my world, my project's.
When you're dealing with millions, that's just, that's
I
a good part.
Yeah.
That's pocket change.
Their pocket change,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But hopefully I answered your question, but, so with that, Todd, we're working on the FEMA backup generators.
Yeah, the FEMA backup generators, we meeting weekly with Bell, at their last progress meeting last week, they provided us cost estimates for the generators that they were, recommending purchasing. They are scheduled to come out on site to try to do some site inspections on the control panels to make sure that we have the right hookups for the portable generator that we're gonna ask for. And, I can't remember for the life of me, what is the committed date that they gave us for having that design?
Well, they're gonna give us by this coming Wednesday's meeting, engineer's cost estimate for the entire project, which is what I've asked for. Cause I need some assurance that we're gonna come in at or under budget. If you all remember, our budget was roughly $1.3 million. And I wanna know, having 3 generators plus a mobile unit, we can meet that target. So that's what they're gonna give to us Wednesday, and then they're gonna give us a design after that. Design will be pretty quick, pretty easy, I think. The lead time, the problem is the lead time on the generators. You're talking 20 weeks on these generators, the bigger ones. My goal, and I've told Bell Engineering is our goal is, this system needs to be installed and running before winter. 'Cause that's when you need it. But that's a big ask. But we'll keep pushing for that. Otto Brown, Todd.
Otto Brown, they've provided some plans. I think it was at 75%, what the one they submitted to us was, we would review it, reviewing those, and making nods to get it out, we'll get it back to 100%. That's the same as, 40 East, the Hooker project, they're scheduled to go out next week, to kind of identify some of the meters that are in GIS, that way they can submit their plans. They did request a exemption from the state to have to do construction plans, because where there was just tiny existing lines, and the state didn't grant that. Turkey Tank, they had sent out a questionnaire to us a couple of weeks ago about trying to get some information, that way they can use a temporary tank, all that information's been provided back to them, so we're waiting on, the design for that, and I think that project should be ready to move forward as well.
Yeah. So I can tell this board that, I've looked at a lot of design drawings this past 2 weeks, marked up a lot of stuff, sent it back. Bell is addressing those comments, and since, David Schrader has taken over for Bell for our count, things have gotten much better than what they were. But we're behind schedule. And it's my intent, this next week to update the overall, schedule and send it out to the board with new projections for project completion dates. So with that, that completes the, capital project SIP list. Let's get into other old business. Some of this, we've already talked about, but the generator funding update, the board's aware that, the funds now reside in the district's account. You know, Big Sandy Ad is managing the administrative paper side of that, but the contracting and such is being directly with, the district and being paid by the district. And so we're making good progress on the generators. The master plan funding update, was it, yesterday or the day before I reviewed the ARC, application from Fahi, provided them with some information they asked for, and also commented in some areas. Fahi's doing a great job of getting that, moving that along. And then when that application is complete, I will send it out to the board so you have a copy of that application. And then that application schedule will be submitted in August, and that'll go out then for the master plan. Todd, on the master meter delivery and construction schedule, we're down still to 4 meters to install.
We're down to the 3 inch, 4 inch meters and a couple 2 inch. I did get an email this week saying that the register here for the new meter should be here the first week of August.
Okay. And then what about, budget and remaining funds to do, our, master meters?
I know it's 800,000 plus what's left to do the remaining for the project. I don't know the exact amount, but that will, for the rest of the zone meters and stuff, so there's plenty of money to cover that side of the project.
But what the board needs to see is we need to see something from AWR telling us, here's how much money's remaining, here's the zone meters that we need to install, here's the cost of that, so that we can look at that and say.
I got that, I just didn't bring it, I'll get the email out.
Okay,
I've already got that done.
okay, good. Yep, all right. Okay, so we're making good progress there, and then we get these bigger meters changed out, you know, that also could improve the leak rate.
It will.
Yep. Okay. Raw water intake project update, Todd's updated us on that. Again, we're pushing to get that system up and running as soon as possible so that we get out from underneath this unbudgeted cost of diesel fuel pump. And also, opportunity cost of people have to operate it and fuel it and maintain it, and they could be doing something else. Martin County Water District rules and regulations, tariff board discussion, and a motion for the board to approve revised language and board attorney submit to PSC for approval. Board members, I sent each of you, in track changes mode, the word copy of the tariff and what I was proposing to change. As far as the rates, specifically, you know, water usage rates, there is no change. The change in rates only comes to what's called incidental costs. And more specifically, there was a $1,000, in the current tariff, there's a $1,000 flat fee for residential meter 3/4 inch. And I would like that language to go back to what the PSC and the state language says, which is at cost. For some folks, the cost is less, and for some folks, the cost is more. And I don't think it's right for people whose cost is less to pay more, and I don't think it's right for people whose cost is more to pay less. I think it should be at cost. So that's one of the changes, board members, maybe had a chance to look at that. And if you have, do you have any questions about the recommended changes?
I think I need to look at that more,
Okay, so
cause there's more than just that,
there is more.
yeah, I do.
You know, I added language about easement agreements. That's a requirement. You know, before the language called out, signing documentation, but it didn't explicitly include easement agreement. So I added some language around that. But I need the board members to review it and come back to me with comments. And then by the next board meeting, which we currently have a special meeting scheduled for August 12th, the board approved that at the last board meeting. We have a special meeting, I'll get it on the agenda for that special meeting to talk about this. But please take the time to review that document, give me your comments. The board members, please keep in mind, once you get me your comments and I make the changes, then you have to go to Brian for a legal review. And then once the board approves them, then the board attorney then needs to submit the PSC for approval. So there's a process we have to go through, to get there. I just need the board's review comments. Okay. Flood damage, infrastructure status, Kentucky Emergency Management Funding update, Todd.
So, on the flood damage with the insurance, so, Vernon did provide me an email that had some questions for the insurance, and I do have them all answered today. I've been working, pushing the engineering company, insurance company very hard to try to get these answers for the last 2 weeks, and last week really, and it's really not giving me the answer that I wanted, or a good answer at all. We submitted our initial claim to the insurance company on March the 3rd for the February events. And what they came back with today was basically saying that it got transferred to a new adjuster and he's on it. And that,
I've seen that, I've heard of that being a tactic.
so the question you hear that Vernon had was about the receipt of, they had 30 days with a notice of intent, or was it notice of intent, or?
They have 30 days to provide us a notice of intent on how they plan to address the claim.
Yeah, they said that notice of intent only counted is if they required a sworn proof of loss statement from us. And they said since they came out and adjusted and seen it, they did not require that. So I'm kinda at a standstill with the insurance company and.
Okay, so let's take a step back, so I understand everything you're saying. So fundamentally within, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because I've got a lot on my mind, but fundamentally within our policy, it clearly states that from the time a claim is made, there is a duration for a statement to be made by the insurance company as to specifically what they're gonna cover and not cover.
Yes, it says that, but their response back to my question on that was today, was because they didn't ask us to sign a sworn profit loss statement, that they were out on the site doing investigations still, that 30 days had not kicked in.
Well, it said, and I quote, on about page 319 of the 886 page document that you sent to me, it states that we must submit a signed, sworn proof of loss containing the information they request to investigate the claim. That they will supply the necessary forms, and we must do this within 60 days, which you did, you marched for the February event. So, then it says on page 319, it says they will give notice of their intentions with regard to our claim within 30 days after they receive the sworn proof of loss. So they're saying because they didn't ask for a sworn proof of loss, that they don't have to abide by that 30-day rule.
That was the statement that I received today from the insurance company.
I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, so here's what we need to do, is Vernon, do me a favor, send your email to Brian, send their response to the questions that Vernon had originally raised to Brian. And board members, I'm asking for a motion to approve for Brian to draft a letter to the insurance company, putting them on notice of where they're in violation of the agreement. Because an insurance policy is a contract. And so, I'm asking for a motion from this board to do that.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Erica even requested the document herself today that we could start the timeframe now, and they were reluctant to do that as well, so.
Well, it's time that we engage from a contractual perspective and move on. So let's do that.
Okay, I had another question.
Go ahead.
I was gonna send this out once I got it all, that's what I was waiting on.
When you would answer my email, I was gonna send it out to everybody, but I was gonna try to have answers, so my questions were, there were two separate flood events, right? So, well, there'll be $100,000 deductible for each event,
That's right.
correct? Okay, but it's a $5 million policy.
That's right.
Okay, so if that's the case, didn't someone say our total damage was about $2.9 million?
3 million total, yeah.
3 million?
For that event.
For the event, so them paying us holds up our FEMA money, right? FEMA's not gonna pay until they see what we get from them, is that true?
That's true.
Okay, so they're sitting on it, they're sitting on our claim because it's substantial, right? I mean, I'm gonna assume that, let's see, if it's $3 million, we're talking about $2.8 million claim with them, right? Somewhere thereabouts.
Somewhere thereabouts, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, does that include the Collins Creek Road repair?
No, the Collins Creek Road repair, the engineer has requested that the contractor repair that under warranty and with specs that Tim has approved for them to go back with.
Does it include the Route 3 mudslide?
I did submit a complaint for the Route 3 mudslide, the April event. The problem with that was really the only major event we had, and it's not gonna meet the $100,000 deductible.
Correct. But, we could submit it to, because it was a state emergency, not a federal emergency, because that's the April 4th event, it could qualify for some funding under the Kentucky Emergency Management
And
Program.
they had it.
They have.
Did we incur any, expenses for debris removal, like?
The only thing we did is a few of the lift stations, we had some work that we done where we removed a tree or two that have fell. And we talked about that with the FEMA adjuster originally. And they said if it wasn't covered under, if the work wasn't completed in overtime, it was completed under regular work hours, it could not be reimbursed.
Through FEMA?
Correct.
But wouldn't our labor costs be covered?
That's all.
In our insurance?
That's all been submitted to me.
Okay, so we did include that, the cost of labor
Yes.
for removal of debris and such in that claim. Okay.
But one thing that's important to note is while we wait on insurance, we're still incurring costs. Okay, so there's, in the way I think is that's damages. Because someone's not responding to the problem within the contractual timeline for which they committed to respond, and you incur costs after that timeline, they have damaged you that whole period.
Further.
So I'll be working with Brian to address this, but make sure Brian has a copy of that policy, and then your email, and then their response to you, because Bernie, you did a great job going through that policy. Lord knows I didn't have the time to go through it. And Bernie went through it and pulled out all of the teeth of, the issues that at hand, and
Fine tooth comb, looks like.
yeah, it was a great job, and, much appreciated. I just knew that the time had to have lapsed by now, because here we are in July, the event was in February. Okay. All right, so,
Thank you, John.
that was the insurance question. Master service agreement status, board members, that's on me. I have not had the time to get to Brian and sit down with him to go over those. Those documents are done in draft. Brian has them. I just need to sit down and have some time to go through them with him, and tweak them, but they are needed and they are necessary, and it's coming up pretty soon. And the reason why I say that is, board, be aware that when Foggy administers, projects for us, they administer the paperwork side of it, but contracting, projects, contractors, all that comes through the district. It doesn't go through Foggy. And that's the big difference. So the district will be managing those projects and those contractors. And it's, that's, in my mind, that's a good thing, cause then we can control it. So just keep that in mind, moving forward, and that's where this master service agreement, comes into play as well. So on the Fahey Arc and Kentucky Waters contracts update and addendum for 6 projects, that addendum is done, signed. When you look at your projects, the first 6, which are debt service, tank inspections, painting, trucks and equipment, water system control for raw water modification phase 3, 292 booster station, develop road pump station, those 6 projects will each have an application. So there'll be 6 water. I can tell you, I went through, and looked at the early applications that Fahey has done, provided some feedback. Todd has done a great job of sending them more information. We still owe them information, but we're working through it. The goal is by the end of the first week of August to have the applications finished. We're gonna submit them to KIA for an initial review. And then we're gonna take that initial review and comments, and then we're gonna work to improve them. And then the ultimate goal is to have them submitted at least 1 week early before the August 29th deadline date.
One of the things that was not submitted was our bills, and some of the categories have to do with whether we owe more money and so those, yeah.
So in line with that, and the reason why we don't have the 2024 sanitation audit completion was because Colby Kirk actually come up and said, hey Tim, I've looked at the draft, it's missing this and this and this per the KIA scoring. Can the auditors go back and address that within both water and sanitation? Which is a great idea. And so I went back to AWR and said, can you please go back and have that addressed? And that's what they're working on now, right, Todd, to make that happen?
Yeah, I got an email sometime last week that said that they had a draft that they had found somewhere else for that, and they were incorporating that language into the audit, and we should be receiving it soon.
Oh, so I thought that they probably needed a copy of our, board packet with the information on that, but you think they can get it from the audit if the audit is done?
Yeah, the audit shows it would show your age receivables, it shows everything inside of it, so they'll be able to pull all the information they need from it.
Okay.
But I can assure everyone that what happened in 2024 is not going to happen in 2025 as far as applications. So we've got a good game plan. We've got a great company helping us with Fahey. I feel good about that. Okay, so AWR update the board on WTP SCADA computer purchase and software. You've already done that. I don't think there's any more to talk about there. Chairman update the board on the advertisement for board attorney replacement. As everyone knows, that advertisement is out. Any interest as far as RFQs, the qualifications packets that we asked for? I have not seen anything yet. That's due July the 30th. Back to me or email or mail to the address. But we do have currently scheduled an August 12th special meeting. And part of that special meeting will go into executive session and we will interview attorneys, depending upon the interest and the feedback and other things. But that is the plan moving forward where we sit today.
I want to say, Brian, I really appreciate you not just saying I'm done.
Amen.
Sticking with us till we can find somebody. I do, I mean, I appreciate you.
Certainly. I would.
Yeah, Brian's been awesome. He's been great
This
to work
system
with.
means too much to me.
Pardon?
Said this system means too much to me.
Amen.
Amen, brother. Chairman, update the board for the advertising engineering services. That advertisement has went out. I've gotten a couple of phone calls already about it. There is an interest. If you know engineering firms, feel free to reach out to them, and let them know. All board members, everybody has that advertisement. If you don't, I'm pretty sure I yelled it out to all the board members. Please share it. It's the intent, I think that's due August the 11th, if I remember right, back the request for calls. But once we get those requests in, I'll put together for a better term, a spreadsheet that shows who's interested, and there's a scoring system on that actually. And then we'll score them, and I'll present that to the board, and then the board can decide of those firms, who does the board want to enter into MSAs with, master service agreements. Or in this case, it'd be PSA, professional service agreement, because it's an engineering firm. So that's in the works. Chairman, update the board on the building office lease agreement status. As board members know, we're in month to month now with the library on the building space. Todd and I did go look at 2 spaces that are, for a better term, I'll call it county owned, whether it be economic development or whether it be physical court. I'm currently in discussions with the county on 1 space in particular, and I'm waiting for their response. And so it's still open issue, it's still being discussed and talked about. And when I'm able to come before the board with definitive proposal, I'll do it at that time, but in the meantime, we're month to month.
Is it expected to save money?
Save money? No.
Is
No.
it expected to cost more?
I think it will cost more, it depends on negotiations. But it's gonna cost more than what we're paying now, so the real question in my mind is return on investment. So what does it do for us? What does it do for the operation? What does it do for the community? I'm looking past, today. I'm looking 5, 10 years from now. The current problem we have, when you look at trying to operate a utility system, you have building office and computer records and work orders and all that being done at this location. You have management office at this location. You've got all your materials, parts, and service people spread out over the county. It's stored at different locations. You don't have everybody and everything under one roof. You don't have the synergies to really be effective in my mind. And when I plan for a business, I try to plan to where everything can be managed from one location. And so that's part of the driver of all this. I just don't have enough information to give you pinpoint answers on what does that mean. How much money are we talking? Is it $100 or is it $500 or is it $1,000? What is it? What does it do to the synergies of our operation? How does it allow for growth? How does it allow us to manage our customers and our processes and people? These are all important aspects, and there will be pros and cons as we go down through it. So it's a question of, okay, what does it mean, and how do you pay for it, and all those things. So let me get to all that, but in the meantime, we're month to month until we come up with a plan.
It was at one time all at the plant.
All at the water treatment plant. I know, yeah. Chairman, update the board on Bell Engineering status. As the board knows, the board approved, and we've gone out for qualification requests for other engineering firms. Todd and I and Brian did sit down with Bell Engineering, and as all of you know, Mr. Cottle left Bell Engineering, resigned, retired, what have you. And then David Schrader has picked up the helm, and David's doing a great job. He is. He's just walking into a bad situation. But he's doing a great job trying to recover. And the way David said it to me best is he said, Tim, you may not have us back to do new projects, but we're gonna leave with our name intact. And so he's doing everything he can to turn it around. But they're behind the 8 ball in a number of areas. Well, 8 ball, I mean by schedule. For example, they have not started a cold water design yet. And that project's in place, the funding's in place, but the design has not been started because there's all these other projects that are also behind schedule that need to be addressed. And a lot of projects that are currently funded that design needs to be finished is projects that should go to the field this year and be done this year. So they've improved since David has taken the helm. It's just, he's just got a heavy lift. AWR update the board on the status of parts for clarifier number 2 and funding through Big Sandy Ed for remaining RWI project. We've already talked about that. And so, you know, we'll work on getting that clarifier fixed. Now, if the board remembers, we authorized the purchase of the parts for the payment we received on the $21,000 was from what the board paid out for the copper lead refund. And then there's gonna be a cost to us for the labor to do the work. I don't remember off the top of my head what that quote was from,
I'm wanting to think it was like $25,000 from US Plastics.
Yeah.
Pipe full, that included the parts and the labor,
yeah,
and you said 21,000 signed for it.
yeah, okay. All right, so we're making progress there. Other new business. Board discussed authorization for payment of bills, timing of authorization, and no payment of bills without board approval. So I need to take a step back from this, and first let me say this, it's a requirement of PSC that the board approves all expenditures before the checks are written or before the money's spent. It's a PSC requirement. We have to do that. Now, at no point is anyone saying, I'm not saying this, no one's saying that we think anybody's doing anything wrong, that anybody's doing, you know, not trustworthy. We're not saying any of that. But what we are saying is that we have to meet the requirement. So with that said, for example, you know, electric bills, they come due, and they need to be paid, for example, before the board meets, or we get a late fee. So one of the things that I've talked to AWR about is, well, when you produce the bills, can you forecast? Can you say, okay, based on the electric bills we've been getting, we estimate this is gonna be the bill? Or if you know that, you know, another bill's coming in, can you say, we expect this bill to come in, so the board can approve it before the check is written and signed by the 2 board members, which is required. But again, there's things that we have to we pay digitally, not by check. What we can't have happen is a situation where things get paid without board approval. That can't happen. And so with that, I want to just open it up for discussion of board members, thoughts about, and AWR as well, about how to address this in a timely manner so we don't get accrue late fees. We can pay our bills on time, but we also meet the requirements of PSC.
Well, I mean, to me, the best solution would be to change the date of your meeting. I mean, if you move it to the first of the month, you're approving the bills, those, because there's really only 2 issues. It's the KCO bill is due the 20th of every month, and the utility bills. So the utility bills are paid by ACH, debit, credit, whatever you wanna call them, and then the KCO bill is due the 20th of every month. Those are the only ones that are written before approval.
Yeah. So on those 2, why can't they, so take today's meeting, for example. When we approve the bills, why couldn't we just say, July or August, whatever it is, this bill estimated, and include it in what we're approving, so we approve it at that time, and it could be estimated. You don't, you know, the KCO bill doesn't change, it's the same thing every month, right?
That, I mean, if you're okay approving an estimated amount, that's great for me.
I mean, I don't know, Bernie, what's your thoughts on that, Bernie?
I'm asking, I don't know, can we do that? I mean, I don't know, the PSC, I'll tell you that 2 days.
There's some things that PSC requires that, they
Yeah.
think that you do this on a full-time basis. They think that you're getting a salary paid like, you know.
Like
and
everybody else in the
that you-
state.
That you
Like the
go,
other boards.
right, I mean, that's, they don't realize
We don't
that
need
we
once a
are a
month.
board.
They
Right.
don't realize
Need
we're
once
paying
a
our
month.
motel
Yeah.
bill and everything, yes.
And
Yeah.
there's certain things like the electric bill, I mean, it comes in every month and it has to be paid, but we don't have one electric bill.
No, we have like
There's
14.
like,
I'm sure.
well, we have 3 different electric companies. if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken. Did we still have
Two.
three?
Two.
Okay, we did have
RCC,
three,
and-
but now we got two. But, and we got, and each thing that sits out by the road or whatever has, its own electric bill. And, you know, so you're looking maybe 45 to 50 electric bills.
I don't know, like a total in my head, you have.
Well, I don't have, I'm just throwing the number out there, it could be 30, but it could be 60. But,
Get those in.
and they all will come in on different days. But I know when I first got on the board, every time that we ended up when we got the bills at the end of the month, we had pass through on every bill, and because they waited until it was approved. And, you know, that drove me crazy. Why get late fees on stuff when you can approve the electric bill?
Would the PSC frown on us approving an estimated bill, my question?
I don't know the legal answer to that.
I don't know either.
You know,
I don't think they're gonna expect us to have an extra meeting when the bills come in. I think there is a common sense
You would hope.
component to this.
I would expect.
When,
We would hope.
We
Yeah.
have to pay the electric bill when the electric bill comes due.
that's right.
and there's also a thing like, that we have like, there's certain grants that come in. Money that's put into an account that we don't have any control of, whoever, Big Sandy Ad or Keiko or whoever is over this, and they deposit the money into the account, and they say, you all have to pay this bill. And you have 2 days, it's 2 to 5 days, something like that, that bill must, from the time that they put the money into the account, that's gotta go out. And, or, you know, then you get your risk back if you don't pay that, so sometimes.
That was gonna be one of my questions also, like for the projects that has been allotted for those. And I think that might have been something that was questioned. Are we not to pay that with the money that the grant provided?
Okay, so the short answer is it requires a board approval to pay that, and here's why. And I'm gonna make up a hypothetical, I'm not gonna use the example that happened. Here's a hypothetical. Let's say that grant money comes in to pay a contractor for services rendered. So you get the money in.
Right.
And then, let's say that you don't have board approval and you go ahead and write the check and send it to the contractor. But let's say that the contractor didn't meet the punch list requirements to get that payment. Well, unless the board steps in and says, well, wait a minute, the contractor never fulfilled this, and this, so hold payment until they do, because after you pay them, you have no leverage. So, in this particular situation, again, I'm not gonna mention any names, but in this particular situation, there is a contractor that a check was made out for, that 2 board members were asked to sign, that wasn't on the board's approved payment list. Had the board been aware that that contractor was on the list, we would have denied that payment at that time, because that contractor hadn't met the requirements to
Of
be
that
paid.
specific project,
Of
or of a different project? I was,
multiple projects.
oh, okay.
So, one of the tactics that this board can use is if a contractor's not meeting their requirements, you can withhold funds until such time that they do. Now, there's ramifications to doing that, but that's a tactic. And that's what brought this whole thing to the board's attention.
I was under the impression when you made the draw, the board members, that was actually, okay, that's fine to pay that with. I just wanted to clarify, thank you.
No, that's a good question. It's a good point. And so, with that, tonight, the board approved that payment when they approved the list, because it was on the list, right? Correct. That particular payment in question. So back to the solution. Brian, I'm just gonna propose, Brian, that we estimate the electric bill and the Keiko bill. The Keiko bill's not gonna change. But the electric, and the board can approve that when they approve the bill, so that they can pay the bills timely. And if PSC has a problem with it, then we'll answer to the problem.
Can we make a motion, and this is just a question, I don't know, can we make a motion
You
that?
didn't make a motion for anything. so-
Well, I know, but can we legally do this, I guess is my question, can we make a motion and approve that motion, said motion, that says, in the case of the electric bill in KCO, that going forward, two members are authorized to go sign those checks so that we're
Electric's
not
not check.
delinquent.
Electric's not check, it's digital payment.
Oh, it is digital.
It's digital, it's not a check.
Okay.
We are satisfying the PSC requirement that board members approve the payment. The question is, the PSC criteria, and I'm just talking from memory, which at my age gets dangerous, but, the PSC requirement doesn't explicitly say that the board members have to approve the exact value. It says the board members have to approve the payment. And it does say that the payment can't be estimated. So, it doesn't, it's not too explicit.
One suggestion, just throwing out ideas, it might be, let's look historically about what our electric bill has been over the past 12 months. And say, for example, we will authorize payment of the electric bill provided it does not exceed, $50 over that average amount. And if it does, then we'll have to wait till the meeting to approve it.
Well, but some months it's going to exceed in some, right?
Yeah.
Is that not?
Well, it's certainly
And then you
possible.
have late fees if you're waiting out the way,
Yeah.
I don't know.
When does the bills come in, when we see them, the electric bills, at what point in the
They come
month?
from different times, we've been working with two different companies.
So generally the last week of the month is when we see
Correct,
them
the
though?
last week is what I'm.
So for example, we haven't received one yet probably for this past.
I would just say leave the electric bills and KCO thing along, and then if we have something like anything else that pops up that we're not dealing with on a regular monthly basis.
What I want is I want the board to go on record approving an estimated approach for electric and KCO, so that they can put that in the board packet, so when the board approves the bills each month, that's getting approved then.
I make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
So let's do that, and if,
Do it.
PSC wants to call me to Langston and beat me up, they can. You know, so-
They'll let us know, I'm sure.
Well,
Yeah, they'll call you Frankfurt, not Lexington.
Okay, well, you're not, I'm actually going to Frankfurt soon, so.
the point I was trying to make there are some meetings where we will have that bill, in which case we would maybe bring an amended list of bills to you on the actual meeting day, instead of what was put in the packet, because we wouldn't necessarily have it at the time the packet's due, but we would have it before this meeting occurred. So, I don't know, maybe 50% of the time, we would actually have that number for you
Sometimes.
via a revised list of bills. And the other cases, it would have to be estimated.
As long as it's on the list, it gets approved, that's something I care about, it needs to be on the list, if it's not on the list and it didn't get approved, it requires a board meeting to approve that bill.
Yeah, I spent the whole month thinking that this meeting was the 29th. Yeah, because that's why I knew my
One of those
transportation
weird
was gonna be a
months.
problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so, moving on, board attorney, filed the lease agreement approval of PSC for the service truck, work trucks. Brian already addressed that, and we're waiting to hear back from PSC on that. Chairman requests a motion for chairman to work with the board attorney, file a motion with PSC to have the order lifted. So what that's about is, everybody knows, Martin County Water District's under PSC order. I personally am of the opinion that this district has done enough to satisfy metrics to where we can go to PSC and ask them to lift that order. Now, what does that mean to us? That means if they lift the order, then we're still under PSC rules and regulations. It's just, we're not having to do a number of things that we currently have to do from a legal perspective. We're still under contractual relationship with AWR. And as far as our board meetings and how we conduct business, it doesn't change that. But I can say this, orders, when PSC issues them, they're not meant to last forever. That's not what the order is about. The order is meant to bring the district in line with PSC requirements. That's what an order is about. I'm of the opinion that this district is meeting PSC requirements, and in fact, I can touch on a number of them. That, for example, our leak rate is way down from what it used to be. Financially, the district is better off than it used to be.
We have audits.
We have audits that we didn't have. I mean, there's the operation of the plant is way better than it used to be. The water, leaving the plant, I won't talk about what's coming on distribution pipe, that's a different discussion, but the water leaving the plant is good. It's good water, it meets your requirements. I drink it every day.
I don't drink that one yet, 'cause I have a filter, but I drank it.
I consume it every day, right out of my tap. And I don't have any water treatment stuff on my house. It's straight from the water plant.
I use no groundwater either.
No. So,
$5,000 filter system.
so, you know, I'm looking for the board's approval for me to work with Brian, or whoever the board attorney is at the time. But what I'd like to do is I'll draft the initial document from a better perspective of here's where we're at and here's how we got to where we're at and here's where we're headed kind of thing. But talk about, you know, from the time the order was placed in 2019 and in 2020, AWR comes aboard, and then fast forward 5 years, here's what we've done in that 5-year window. And I'd like to get the board's approval to do that, because again, not all, orders aren't meant to last forever, and when you meet the metrics of the order, it should be met. So do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, motion carries. Consider motion to approve the chairman to work with the board attorney to update utility board bylaws from 2008 for future board approval. Nina, thank you for sending those 2008 bylaws over. I skimmed through them, and I'm just gonna speak frank, because I don't know any other way how to speak, because they need a lot of work in my opinion. In fact, I think there's areas that don't align with the current, Kentucky statute and administrative rules. And so with that said, what my intent is I'll take that in word form and I'll mark it up on where the areas where it doesn't align with the statutes or the administrative rules, and then I'll send that to Brian, and then Brian, he or whoever you designate to, will, from a legal perspective, address it and put the legal language around it that I'm not capable of doing. But I'll try to do the heavy lifting to try to keep it, you know, the effort down. But I'd like to get the board's approval to update those from 2008, so they're you know, representing 2025.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You need to go to E now.
Go to E.
There is no E under
There is no, I'm looking at my good one.
You need to, said to remind you about to have a motion made for, you, looking on, putting that, correcting this problem with groundwater.
Oh, all right, well, we already addressed the,
You didn't make no motion.
oh, I didn't make, you're right,
I know.
you're right. See, that's what, I
You
usually
can.
check, I'm gonna put an E down here just so I have it. I have it. Yeah, I would like to get the board's, approval via motion. I'd like to work, with an engineering firm to come up with a proposal in AWR. Now, this proposal, of course, is no cost to the board, no cost to the district, but I'd like to work with an engineering firm to be determined, to come up with a proposal of what it would take to, them to work with us to solve the groundwater problem.
I'll make that
So
motion.
they won't charge.
Not for a
For-
proposal, they won't. Not for a proposal.
When they just do the design, they can charge.
Absolutely. I'm just gonna come back to this board with a proposal that says, here's what it's gonna cost to do they'll wanna do an engineer evaluation, that'll be the first step. Second step they'll wanna do is a design, then they'll need to do a cost analysis. And then they'll need to put together a schedule, and then, but that'll all be in the proposal, because what I'll do is I'll step them through everything the proposal needs to have. I'll tell them that, and I'll come back to this board and say, okay, we need to go out to bid for this work, and here's everything that's gonna be in it, or we need to get here, for this firm to do this, here's what it's gonna cost. Engineered services, doesn't require a solicitation.
It does?
Does not. Does not, just like attorneys don't require solicitation. Anything that's professional services doesn't require it. Anything that's construction does. So with that said, let me find a firm that's willing to work with us on this. If I can get more than one firm, I might. But some firms are hesitant to do this much work, to put a proposal together if there's no, it's sweat equity. If there's nothing in it for them, they're not, because it's a lot of work to put this proposal together. But I need to come back to this board with, here's how you solve the problem, and here's what it's gonna cost. And then I've gotta then also come back to the board with that in hand, also to say, and here are the avenues that we get the money. Because that's gonna be the next thing as well, how are we gonna pay for it? So do we pass the motion?
I made the
You made a motion,
motion.
do I have a second?
Do other places with the problem that we have right now, the division of water we talked to you about, do they have a language error index problem? You don't know. You know, it might be that these people could actually get work for other people, do it if they figure out a way to do it.
I can tell you the state data I looked at, they do. Cause I went out and looked at state data, and the state, actually has data on LSI that you can look at. Eastern Kentucky, if you look at Eastern Kentucky, it is bad for high LSI numbers. So the real question in my mind is, okay, what they're doing is they know it's gonna happen, they go out and they start flushing their lines and they flush it out of their system, and that's their solution. Our problem is our system's not designed to have an effective flushing solution. Because when our system was built, they didn't put in flush hydrants like they're supposed to every so many thousand million feet. And so when we flush, it's difficult to get it all out. So anyway, so that motion passed, right?
No.
No? Did I get a second? No?
My question would be, and I don't say this to flatter anybody on this board, but my question would be, do the other people that have this problem, do they have someone with Tim's knowledge and background to figure out what they need to do? I think that we're blessed.
Well, mostly, you know, like Todd said, you know, it's a problem that only happens twice a year.
Yeah, but
You know, and it
that's
only happens
twice too often.
for a week or so, you know.
Yeah, the part that breaks my heart, to be honest with you.
But if you don't correct the problem, as long as you have black water, the arm pipe in the system, you'll always have a problem.
Yes. And the part that breaks my heart is take a family that struggles to make ends meet. They go out and buy school clothes for their children, and if they're like me, anytime I buy new clothes, I don't put them on, I wash them first. Cause I don't know when that clothes fit. And you throw those new school clothes in the washing machine, and you run them through a cycle and they come out brown.
Yeah, that's terrible.
I mean, so, you know, to say, well, we know it's gonna happen, you know, once a year, we're just gonna flush, that's the solution, that's not a solution. That's ignoring the problem. The solution is as a utility, our solution is always to do the right thing, and the right thing here is just because water meets the standards when it leaves the plant, doesn't mean that the responsibility stops there. It
Right.
stops at the tap, is where it stops. And so we're gonna do everything within our power to make sure that happens.
I still make the motion.
Do I have a second?
Since we're talking about our washing of clothes and such. I might not put a new shirt in the washer, but I might take a little starch and a hot iron to it.
Oh, that's not good.
That's just my own personal habit. And I'll second his motion.
All right, that's good.
Get one right.
All right, so all in favor? Aye. Thank you. All right. So, now we're up to item 11, which is consider a motion to convene into closed executive executive session, board members,
Do
I
we,
would,
do we have a guest speaker that might, want to?
You got me sitting long enough, I do have one question.
Before we do that, cause she has to go somewhere,
okay,
I would appreciate that,
Cincinnati.
yeah.
all right, Madison?
Very brief question. Again, I've been kind of sharing with you all a little bit about some of the work that I'm doing with like Acknowledge the Martin County Water Resilience Toolkit. And with one of the things that I've been doing is deep research about Martin County's water and wastewater systems. And a lot of the good, rich information that I'm able to get is through our board packets. And I went on to the Martin County Water District's website to show some colleagues of mine of like what these board packets look like. And the board packets are not on the website.
Well, that's not good, I thought they were.
The agendas are on there. The agendas are on there, and where they're located on there. And I even checked the public library and the Mountain Citizens website, and I wasn't able to see like the full board packets
Yeah, we should have.
on the website.
They should be.
Because they used to be on there, because I used to keep track of those online throughout
Can
the
we fix
years.
that, Todd?
Yeah, I mean, I'll check down, make sure we have available storage and all that on our.
Yeah, and if someone can provide me like the correct like service like link in the tab, because where I used to reference it, let me pull up my photos. Where I used to reference this information was under board agendas.
Yes.
The only thing that's there is just the plain agendas, but no context or substance to the packets.
Right, I was there just a few days ago, and all I seen was the tonight's
Yep.
agenda, and that was it. There was no packets. But we do need to publish our packets and make them accessible to the public. So thank you for bringing that to us.
Yeah, I just triple checked on the library's website and the Mountain Citizens, because that's usually the other points of like information where the board packets are usually stored, and I just didn't see them there.
One place you can get all of our board packets too is on the PSC site.
Because we're still under the order.
Yeah, yeah, but I didn't want to reference that because I was, like you said earlier, next phase, and so that's why I was wanting to bring it down more locally and trying to get those board packets back
And they
online.
should be locally on our site. We should publish those board packets after every board meeting. They should get published, every board packet, because once we approve the minutes, they should be published.
Yeah.
And all facets of the packet. There's nothing in that packet that can't be shared. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's all I have for
I
now.
appreciate that.
See you next time. Thank you.
So board members, at this time, I'd like to ask for a motion to convene into closed executive session to discuss the KIA scoring case and the raw water intake case. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?